toilets in the Black Horse pub. Well, good morning, and a good morning it is. After the filthiest day yesterday, the sun is shining. A little bit of cloud around. But let's give you the official forecast, because guessing isn't good enough. So today, we're going to start off with a bit of mist. Yes, I recognize a bit of mist on the way into work this morning. The high is going to be 13 degrees. Can I tell what it is at the moment? No, I can't. But it started at 9, misty and a moderate breeze. The chances of rain at noon, the chance is 27%, less than a quarter. The rest of the day looks as if it's going to be rain-free. How wonderful. And the moderate breeze, the most it will be is 12 knots. So there you are. There you are. That's the weather for the day. This is Mirador Television, going from strength to strength. The biggest little television station in the world. Local, but not parochial. So we state our case. We're getting stronger and stronger. We're adding all the time to our colleagues. I can't call them staff because everybody is volunteer at the moment. But the important thing is that we are improving our content all the time. And Friday was absolutely superb. Now, if you're looking for entertainment, look on a Thursday, because that's when John Henty is here, and he is very entertaining. The rest of the time, we're not somber, but we do talk about serious things. We look at serious issues. We have experts. So do join us. None of it is dull and boring. Don't have to worry about that.
Okay, do you want a drink?
Yes, that'd be lovely. I can hear a voice in the background. So there's somebody talking to Ada. Normally on a Monday, she and I are the only two people here to open up the pub and open up the studio. And actually, we don't open up the pub as such. That doesn't happen until 12. And normally Declan, our chief of staff, is here to do that. Just adjusting the camera a little bit so I can lean back.
I'll make you a fresh one.
All right. Lovely. Thank you, darling.
There you go.
We look after each other in this television station. And we have a bit of fun along the way. We get frustrated, try hard not to shout at one another. And normally Susie would be here on a Monday morning, but she's been called away because everybody in this station does something else. And they have to dash off and fulfill their other duties from time to time. So this morning she denied us, but hopefully she'll be back on Wednesday. I normally look at the front pages of the daily newspapers at this time, and I'm going to do exactly that. And while we do that, I think what we might do is try and find something to lay over my my face. Something is rather pleasant. Oh, nothing much pleasant in the news, I'm afraid. So forgive me if I'm looking away, but let's go to the papers. Because there is... oh, thank you, Ada. I've got a fresh cup of coffee. Keep my mouth moist. And there's the papers. There's a lot of skullduggery going on in Westminster at the moment. Oh boy, you want plotters.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Michael. That's another of our backup people. Michael, who's off to his other labours. A great team. But let's concentrate on the newspapers for a moment. We can talk social stuff in a little while. The Eye revealed top secret UK military systems still managed by Fujitsu. Now, why is this so important? Well, Fujitsu is the company that developed the software that caused all the havoc in the post office. And the response initially was that they should not have government contracts because they couldn't get things right. But here they are with their computerization of a top secret UK military system. So it's the Eye paper that says the lead story, they claim Fujitsu has been managing a highly secretive military computer system, facilitating the strategic command and control of UK armed forces for decades. That's according to a source who has briefed the newspaper. Another sidebar notes an FA Cup classic at Old Trafford as Manchester United edged rivals Liverpool to reach the semi-finals at Wembley of the FA Cup. But it just shows you, when you're in the inner circle, you can just imagine the meeting between the minister and the officials of Fujitsu is, listen, you screwed up. Try to get your act together, but say nothing and we'll leave things as they are until they're found out. And then nothing happens. You can sin at the top till the cows come home, but don't try it at the bottom. Don't try it, for instance, with the taxman. Oh, heavens to Betsy, no, they don't forgive there at all. The Metro, Hester La Vista Rishi, no way. And what's that about? Monday's Metro carries stories on Rishi Sunak's future. But the paper quotes Tory Minister Mark Harper, who insists the Prime Minister will not be axed in favour of Penny Mordaunt. Now that's the plot that's going on and is thick in Westminster. Penny Mordaunt is said to be poised to take over from Rishi in a coup backed by disaffected backbenchers. But a number of papers carry stories saying, hey, leave well enough alone. Right. So a Tory minister, Mark Harper, says that Rishi's involvement with Frank Hester, who has donated something like 15 million quid to the Tory party, and who the Prime Minister will not dump after he got involved in a race row. The Prime Minister is facing questions about the extent of his relationship with the businessman. The paper also builds up to its 25th birthday by thanking its readers. But just so that you're absolutely clear, what it's talking about is Rishi Sunak is accused of being too close to a man who has donated £15 million to the Tory party. No suggestion he's got his fingers in the till, but nonetheless, some suggestion that he is showing favoritism. And that you have to be careful of. It's a fine line between favoritism and corruption. And at the moment, I'm satisfied, and I think most people are, that Rishi Sunak is not corrupt. The Daily Mail says in its headline, Sunak allies rage at Penny. Mordaunt fails to quash rumours of a coup, and Tory MPs spend the weekend plotting. Now Rishi launches his fight back. Rishi Sunak's leadership and his future dominates the front page of the Daily Mail, as the paper claims the Prime Minister will lead a political fight back during a speech in the Middle East on Monday. That's today, of course. It follows reports over the weekend in some sections of the Tory party planning to oust Mr. Sunak in favour of Penny Mordaunt. Sunak allies rage at Penny as because she won't distance herself from such a move. Elsewhere, the paper gives an update on the King's health. following his cancer diagnosis earlier this year. It says King Charles is determined to bravely attend this June's Trooping the Colour occasion, despite his ongoing cancer battle, but he might have to be driven in a carriage if doctor says he's too ill to go on horseback. Now, excuse me while I lean across to get my second cup of coffee of the morning. Give my mouth a washout. Just a reminder of who you're watching, Mirador Television. And these are the front pages. We're looking at what's happening around the world, the serious stuff. And it's not very pleasant, some of it. Not very pleasant at all. In other news, the paper also says the king is determined to attend Trooping the Colour. The Guardian, watchdog condemns NHS culture of cover-up. Apparently, NHS staff worried about telling the truth. In other words, being a snitch, bluntly, about the things that go wrong in the NHS. And it says that ministers should overhaul the way the NHS deals with complaints and how the array of regulatory bodies scrutinize it. An NHS spokesperson said it was absolutely vital that everyone working in the NHS feels they can speak up and that their concerns are acted on. But the Guardian also says that the Russian opposition leader who died in prison, Alexei Navalny, saw his widow on the weekend, Yulia, in front of cheering crowds when she turned up at the Russian embassy in Berlin to cast her vote in the weekend election, in which Putin, not unexpectedly, is leading with about 90% of the vote. Yulia said she had written her late husband's name on the ballot, and what the claims is an act of defiance. The Daily Telegraph. Embattled Prime Minister urges Tories, stick with me. Stick with me. A story about Rishi Sunak features on the front page of the Telegraph, and he's urging Tories to stick with the plan as leadership talks continue to swirl around him. According to the paper, the Prime Minister tells backbenchers the economy is turning a corner, and he calls on them to hold their nerve. Don't think it's going to help somehow. I think we're going to see this. Will he or won't he? for quite a little while yet. The Financial Times is high Fed rates required for longer than markets expect, say economists. Putin tightens grip on Russia is a headline in Monday's FT, and it reflects on Russia's president being handed a landslide victory in an election which features no real competition. The last day of voting was marked by silent protests at polling stations, and an image shows people queuing up to vote outside. The lead story claims the United States Federal Reserve will have to keep rates high for longer than markets anticipate. That's according to the economists polled by the newspaper. There's a phone going off, I don't think it's mine. Don't even know where mine is, to be quite honest with you. Oh, I do. Huh. I better pull it out in case it's asking me to vote in the Russian election. I wouldn't know who the runners and riders are anyway. There's only one. Anything else is just a protest vote. And you don't protest too much in Russia. Although I never found that I was afraid to speak when I was working there. I was monitored though, and because I spent a weekend away from my hotel, I was denied entry and had to be taken to an office where I was charged with a crime, and now I've got a criminal record in Moscow, for which I may say my employer paid the fine. But you can't step out of the line, not too far. The Times, it follows up on the story about holding a nerve. This is our bounce back year, Sunak tells critics. There's more on Vladimir Putin in Monday's Times as the paper reflects on his speech after early results indicated he had won almost 90% of the vote. Mr. Putin said the results showed Russians trusted him, and he would allow the country to become stronger and more effective. You know the news? England star Marcus Rashford is pictured at the top of the paper celebrating Manchester United's equaliser against Liverpool in Sunday's FA Cup thriller. The lead story centres on Rishi Sunak vowing this is the year the UK bounces back. Well, all positive stuff, if you believe it. The Mirror, the Tory NHS shame. Well, it stays true to form. Dark Ages dentistry, it says. The scale of the horror revealed as 200,000 support protests. They're all upside down, the stories this morning. The main story claims 200,000 people have backed a protest by the tabloid to save British dentistry, which it says is in the dark ages. Scale of horror reveal is 200,000 back protests, they say. But it also reports on Coronation Street stalwart Bill Roach, and alongside absolutely fabulous legend Helen Lederer. She opens up about working with Mr. Roach on the set of Coronation Street after playing his love interest on the ITV soap. And there you go. The Daily Express. Tory MPs plot to topple Rishi is just self-indulgence, says the newspaper. Now, once again, the story that's not the main story is Dame Esther Ranson is on the front of the paper. After a date was set for a major House of Commons debate on her fight to legally assist dying. Sadly, she can't appear at the debate because she has stage 4 lung cancer, which is preventing her from attending in person. So she's asking her supporters to urgently write to their MPs. Another Esther features on the front of the tabloid, this time Tory MP and Cabinet Minister Esther McVey, who says the overwhelming majority of Conservative MPs support Rishi Sunak. Oh, a rare entry into politics. The Daily Star. Aha. A washout is on the way. Easter is a beaster. The Star carries tributes to Steve Harley, the frontman of Cockney Rebel, who died over the weekend at the age 73. Let me say, that fills me with sadness. There are a lot of artists and famous stars who have popped their clogs recently. But Steve Harley, in my opinion, is one of the finest musicians of the lot. And I have stored on my computer, which I don't dare play here for copyright issues, his stage rendition of his hit music with Cockney Rebel. Now, Steve Harley, Cockney Rebel, doesn't mean anything to you. Come up and see me. Come up and see me. Make me smile. Ring a bell? I've got it all. Yes, I know. My singing isn't so hot. Not so hot at all. But it is one of my very favorite songs. And I do have, and perhaps I'll dig it out and play it, of my version of it done during lockdown, tongue in cheek, making a complete idiot of myself. But Steve Harley really one of the cleverest musicians, and right to the very end attracted huge crowds. So he has died, aged, I think, 73, which is quite young nowadays. And I think that we're saying goodbye to Steve Harley is one of the saddest things that has come across my radar in the last few weeks. The tabloid's lead story claims Brits are bracing for a powerful storm, which will see river and groundwater levels reach peak heights, with the end of the UK winter set to feel extra dreary this year. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, that's the news headlines. It's just praise them. The Telegraph reports Rishi Sunak is urging MPs to stick with him and that he's issued a rallying cry to backbenchers, telling them the economy is turning a corner. Penny Mordaunt has failed to distance herself from recent reports she's being lined up as a unity candidate to replace Mr. Sunak, as according to the Daily Mail. Cabinet Minister Esther McVey is quoted in the Daily Express as saying some colleagues are putting leadership ambitions ahead of the party's interests. The front page of the Times carries a photograph of the widow of the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny at a protest in Germany against the re-election of Vladimir Putin as Russian president. Bye. In other news, the NHS Ombudsman Rob Berens has told The Guardian hospitals are burying evidence about poor care in a cover-up culture. Dark Age Dentistry is the headline in the Daily Mirror, which reports there will be a protest at Parliament today about the crisis in the sector. The front page of the iPaper reveals that Fujitsu, the IT company at the center of the post office Horizon scandal, is still managing a highly classified British military computer system. And finally, the Sun's front pages report the Princess of Wales was spotted out and about at a farm shop in Windsor over the weekend, amid what it describes as wild speculation about her health floating around social media. Oh, there we are. Those are the headlines. Now, let's just recap also the fact that it was a fantastic weekend of sport. There were 3 top-notch rugby matches in the Six Nations, with Italy coming good. They've been threatening to win a match because they've always been the wooden spoon artists. Not this year. They beat Wales. It was a thriller, but they beat them. Ireland narrowly beat Scotland, and England came within 2 points of toppling France. But it means that the Irish remain Six Nations champions, although they didn't do it in a Grand Slam. because unexpectedly England beat them, and on home soil in Dublin. Was it? Or was it at Twickenham? Anyway, England beat them. And yesterday, I watched over lunch Chelsea against Leicester, and Championship Leicester, in other words, second division Chelsea, held first division. Second division Leicester held first division Chelsea right up until the very end at 2-2, until in extra time Chelsea managed 2 goals to make it 4-2. But the real thriller was Man U, which have had a very checkered season, beat Liverpool, the team of note, the team of record, 2-1, I think it was, to go through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup. So some real heart stoppers. And for those people who are into sport in a big way, the sports sector turned it on. It was a good Cheltenham racing scene too, the Gold Cup. Now, I need to do my bit. The pub quiz. It's every second Sunday at the Black Horse, which means that it's not until April, the next one, but extremely well attended. Don't miss it. Book your seat now. I had the roast beef yesterday. I wish I could finish 4 lovely slices like that, but I can't. And I had to. I have the small portion, and even then I find it a bit much. But the quality of the food is just excellent. It's tasty, good cuts, and all in all, a very pleasant experience. And very popular it is too. And I'm going to show this because it's all over now by the shouting. But we have a very exciting rugby tournament, and it was well worthwhile. It lived up to its billing. So all in all, an interesting series of events floating around the Black Horse. Now, let's just let me clear my mouth. At what's the time, by the way? 29, 8:41, in fact. Those people who haven't already got out of bed, get out of bed. Those people on the way to work, It's fairly busy this morning. Bit misty, so watch out. No chance of rain, according to the weatherman. But I wouldn't hold him to that. Hey, let's go down to the park for a second or two. Now that is Southover Park, in itself very historic, as indeed so many things are in Lewes. But a lot of the architecture was, quote, imported. Frankly, it was stolen, as Henry VIII pulled down the priory. And some of it is quite lovely. And the park itself is quite lovely. And Southover Grange, the mansion attached to it, which belonged and was lived in for about over 200 years by the Newton family, was by far the grandest house in Lewes for many of those 200 years. A lovely old Tudor mansion. And the target of, during the English Civil War, of a raiding party of royalists from Chichester, because Newton was a leading Puritan, and the royalists wanted to get their hands on Southover Grange because they needed a toehold in East Sussex, although they were reasonably powerful in West Sussex. And that occasioned the Battle of Hayward's Heath, or Muster Green. Muster Green being the little patch of land which now sits in a triangle as the traffic enters Hayward's Heath. But it was a pitched battle between loyalists led by the Lord Lieutenant of Sussex on behalf of the King, and opposed by the nobleman who lived in Glynde and who took his force and put the royalists to flight. And so this beautiful park, beautiful old mansion was saved. So was Lewes, although there's no suggestion that the royalists would have sacked Lewes. But the fighting could be pretty fierce in those days. And they recently discovered gunpowder, so they loved to blow things up, shoot things down. So Lewes was saved from a fate worse than death way back in the late 1500s. Now, it's 9:15. I'm going to take a break, come back at 9 o'clock. At 9:30, I shall be joined by Philip Meredith, one of the two Bs, before he will in turn join Harry Aston from Normandy for a chat. So we'll be back in 5 minutes or so. So for the moment, toodle pip. From Lewis in the Black Horse Pub.